Data Preprocessing and Visualization of LA Crime from 2020 to present. So the agenda of this project is to focus on pre-processing techniques such as feature engineering and discretization. And from these pre-processing techniques, you're going to create visualizations of the data. Um, and from these visualizations, we're going to either accept or reject the hypotheses that we created from viewing the data. And then, of course, we're going to give a conclusion. So the data set we were presented with was from the LA crime data from 2020 to present. Um, and from exploring this data, some key attributes that I found were that I figured I could use in my project was from victim age, crime description, date and time, longitude, and latitude. Um, so the reasons I settled upon these statistics from when I was exploring the data was because I figured these statistics worked really well with the hypotheses that I was developing. Um, Especially the one with the victim age. That was the first one I landed upon because I really wanted to focus upon like what age range of what crime affects which age range the most. That's why I really looked upon victim age. And of course, crime description because you gotta know what crime you're dealing with. So those are the two descriptions that those are two data points that I went to immediately, and then I included the other ones because I thought these could work. These could also work well with my hypotheses. Um, and then, of course, when I was exploring the data, I saw other aspects of the data that can be cleaned up, um, such as the other crime code boxes that were left blank. Um, these were aspects of the data set that I felt like I could clean up and include. I could include them in the project. And like I said, these key attributes helped me form my three hypotheses. So the three hypotheses that I created were one, dealing with the relationship between property crime and COVID-19 recovery. So my hypothesis is that during the COVID-19 recovery years, the years from 2021 to 2023, and these years were picked because in in 2021 was when widespread use of the vaccine began, um, which helped with which immensely helped with the COVID-19 recovery. And then up until 2023, that's when the World Health Organization stopped, took it off of a public health emergency. COVID was no longer a public health emergency in 2023. So that's why I picked the years from 2021 to 2023 as the COVID-19 recovery years. Um, and so my hypothesis is that from during the recovery years, you saw an increase. You'll see an increase in property crime. Um, and my hypothesis was centered around the fact that during lockdowns, when people were left inside, you couldn't get out. People weren't outside to do any activities or commit any crimes. But as the restrictions started easing up a little bit, crime could then rise again. So that's why I picked that as my first hypothesis. My second hypothesis has to do with the victim age likelihoods in violent crime. So um, my this hypothesis has to do with which this the hypothesis centers around the young adults and the belief that young adults age 18 to 35 are likely to are likely to be victims in violent crime. I picked this age range because um, I was just a simple Google search of what's considered a young adult, and young adults are typically from ages 18 to 35. Um, so that's the age range I picked. And then I created also other bins. And with this hypothesis, I'll create other bins for people over 60 or people under 18 as well. Um, and the third hypothesis is focused on specific areas with higher crime in LA, but the hypothesis saying that um, the this crime is going to be focused on specific areas in LA, and these specific areas are going to have higher crime rates. So, why is data preprocessing needed? Raw crime data is very often unfinished or it has mistakes in the data. Um, the website where the data is from, data.gov, that's where we got the LA crime data from. That website said itself that there could be inconsistencies in the data, and you want to make sure the data is only as accurate as the data presented. So always be careful when you're going through the data. Um, and that's why it's very important to pre-process the data first before you get into any visualizations. Um, there's also unneeded data that lessens the processing time, and you can also gain more insights from simpler visualizations of data. So the techniques that we used were filter-based feature selection, categorical imputation, numeric validation, discretization, and feature engineering. Um, I chose each one of these pre-processing techniques based off of how useful they will be in analyzing the key categories that I picked beforehand, such as the age range. I wanted to do discretization so I can work with the age ranges to put them into bins. I wanted to use feature engineering so I can create the violent crime category and a property crime category from the descriptions of the data that we were given. Um, and that's the basis of why I picked these techniques. Just going through the categories and deciding which one I would choose. So the visualization one just shows property crimes over time. As you see, from it looks from 2021 to 2023, crime is slowly increasing. So this supports the general hypothesis that crime crime was increasing during the COVID recovery years. Visualization 2 shows violent crime by age group. As you see, the 18 to 35-year-old age group has the highest victimization of violent crimes, which also supports the second hypothesis that I had. And the visualization 3 um, just shows the longitude latitude of LA and the crime density, with the darker colors being less crime and the brighter colors being higher crime. And this is the violent crime density. And as you see, there's a light blue cluster, looks like in the center of this map. That's around the LA downtown area. Um, so as you see, the crime kind of clusters around that area, which supports the third hypothesis that I presented. So in conclusion, the hypotheses seem to have been supported by the visualizations. Um, and I would like further studies into the root causes of some of these issues, such as why does crime gather in the center of LA, of the downtown area. Um, I think that studies like these can be jump started by this project. Um, and also this project shows just the effectiveness of data preprocessing and how useful it is in visualizing any hypotheses that you want to develop. Right? Thank you.